Welcome to the interview. The U.S. election enters its final phase tonight with the first presidential debate. With Obama up in the poll, the pressure falls on Mitt Romney's shoulder to deliver a strong enough performance to turn things around. The two contenders are about to answer questions about the economy, of course, but also domestic policy in a 19-minute television face-off that, according to the Pew Research Center, 83% of American voters are likely to watch. But who has more to lose, Obama, Romney, or the voters themselves? We discuss the final countdown in U.S. politics with Bruce Stokes, Director, Global Economic Attitudes for the Pew Research Center. Bruce, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Tonight's debate could be Romney's best chance to change things, basically. How can he catch up in the polls, and how can he connect really this time with voters?
Well, our surveys show that the advantage that he once held in terms of people thinking he might do better handling the economy, that advantage has shrunk. We're not sure quite why. We think it's because, in part, people think the economy is doing better. But what I think Mitt Romney has to do tonight is convince people that he understands their problems. Probably the most challenging results of our surveys are that by 43 percentage points, a huge difference, almost 3 to 1, people say Obama understands people like me better than Romney. And that's one of the challenges that Romney faces tonight, is to change that around.
According to Newt Gingrich, this debate is the most important single event in Mitt Romney's political career. How important are those debates when it comes to American politicians above the general elections?
No, it's a very good question, and I would say on average they aren't that important. I mean, if you look at polling data over the years, maybe there's a 2 or 3 percentage point change after a debate, which is not terribly significant. However, there are incidences in our history when Richard Nixon and John Kennedy debated in 1960, and Richard Nixon looked like he needed a shave and he sweated too much, and all of a sudden Kennedy looked very urbane and sophisticated, and this helped Kennedy a great deal. In 2000, Al Gore used his time in front of the cameras to basically not treat Bush very seriously. Bush would go to answer a question and Gore would sigh. While people thought he won the debate, the people who were asked right after the debate, over time people decided they didn't like that attitude, and so it hurt Al Gore.
So how much do they matter?
They can matter a lot. Clearly, if one of the two candidates makes a huge mistake, possibly a factual mistake, more importantly, probably, if he looks arrogant, if he looks cold, if he looks out of touch with the ordinary person, that could really make a difference. And I think, to answer your first question, I do think that because Obama's ahead right now, he has the most to lose. He has to look confident, but not arrogant. He has to not look defensive, because if he looks like he's trying to hold on to that lead, it won't come off very well. But he can't be too offensive, because then people will feel sorry for Mitt Romney.
Let's say on the communication skills and strategy when it comes to the debate for a quick second. Both campaigns have enhanced their opponents' talent when it comes to communication. We have, for instance, the Romney team calling President Obama one of the most talented political communicator in history. And on the Obama side, the Obama campaign pointed out that Romney is a prepared, disciplined, and very aggressive debater. Is that the right strategy?
Well, clearly, Obama is an inspiring speaker. We know that. He has not debated since 2008, and that's a separate talent. And he was not the greatest of debaters in 2008. Romney has debated, by my count, 23 times during the Republican primaries this year, so he's very practiced, very experienced recently, and he did very well in most of those debates. So I think we're going to see two men who are very talented. It's not as if one of them is reclusive and not very good on his feet. I think they're both can be very good on their feet. My sense is that it's probably about even, although, again, as I say, I think Obama has more to lose here because he's ahead. And Romney has less to lose because if he doesn't do well in this debate, then it's going to be very hard to catch up. So he can probably be willing to take more chances than Obama does. If those chances work, it works for him. If those chances don't work, well, he tried.
And at the end of the day, it's the economy stupid. Bill Clinton's favorite tagline has never been so relevant. When it comes to the Pew Research Center, actually, your research center has just come up with a very interesting study pointing out that energy, terrorism, and immigration seem to be less important to voters than it was 4 years ago. Who's the best for the economy, Romney or Obama?
Well, it's interesting. People overwhelmingly tell us it's the economy is the problem more than anything else. People are divided about who they think should, in our polls, about who would be better to handle the economy, although I can tell you that Gallup came out with a survey this morning that showed that people nationwide thought that the economy under Romney would be better over the next 4 years, which is a slightly different question. The problem Romney faces is if you look in the swing states in America, the key states that Romney has to win to beat Obama. In most of those states now, people think that Obama will do a better job handling the economy. And so at some level, it doesn't matter what nationwide people think. It matters what people think in Ohio and Florida and Colorado and Wisconsin, places like that. And as recently as a month ago, in Colorado and Wisconsin, people thought Romney would do a better job with the economy. That's not the case anymore.
Is Romney a poster boy when it comes to privileged American? And how can his campaign make a move to get rid of this label?
Well, I do think one of the really almost classic theatrical tragedies of this Romney campaign is here's a man who's run for office 4 times, for senator once, for governor once, he won, twice for the presidency. He would be, by some counts, the second richest man ever to be president of the United States. And yet he hasn't figured out a way to talk about his wealth in a way that makes people comfortable with him. And that shows up in our data, that people say he doesn't understand people like me by a huge margin. And he's got to figure out a way to bridge that gap, it seems to me, if he wants to overcome the challenges that he faces with only a month to go.
The fear of Romney administration is the best argument to vote for Obama?
I don't think our data show that people fear a Romney administration. It is true, I think, that incumbents always have an advantage because you kind of, the devil you know is instead of the devil you don't know. But look, about half the American people, slightly less than half the American people, are quite willing and ready to vote for Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is behind, though. He needs to get that over half, and that's going to be the challenge. We find in our polls there are about 22% of the population who are persuadable. They might go either way. Those people think by a significant margin that Romney would do a better job with the economy. So if he can just continue to make this message that I'm the one to solve the economic problems, he has a chance to move those people. However, those very same people, by 4 to 1, say that this guy doesn't understand people like me. So he has the same problem with the persuadables that he does with the general public.
We're 1 month ahead before the general election, and there is an hypothesis trending in Washington right now saying that if Obama could be reelected, we'll have a Democratic administration again, but the Congress could turn totally Republican, and the Republicans could take control of the Senate. How would those two divided landscape in Washington could work together?
Right. It's going to be very difficult. For the last 4 years, there's been gridlock in the United States. I think people all over the world, their biggest stake in this election may be to have a Washington that actually can function again after the election. And 4 more years of gridlock would not do anybody any good, not only just Americans, but people around the world, in part because the U.S. does have a debt problem, a deficit problem. We need to begin to tackle that. In December, there's a deadline to do that, or else there could be draconian cuts in U.S. spending and raises in taxes that would throw the U.S. into a recession. And if the world wants, one last thing the world doesn't want is the U.S. in a recession, because it will pull down the world with us. So one would hope that after the election, Republicans and Democrats can get together. The president thinks that's possible if he's reelected. The last 4 years would suggest that may or may not be possible. But you're right. I don't think you're going to have a Democratic Congress and a Democratic White House. The Republican majority in the House of Representatives is just too large. So it's entirely likely at least the House of Representatives is going to remain Republican. And that's going to cause the need for compromise, which we haven't been very good at for the last 4 years.
You're a former journalist. Let me ask you your bet for tonight's debate. Who's going to win, Obama, Romney?
I'm not a betting man. I think based on past history, it'll probably be a tie. I mean, I hate to say that because you want to be able to get, but we just know from history that generally there's no sure winner. We also should caution your viewers. For example, in that famous debate when Gore sighed and he was kind of disdainful of Bush, the snap surveys right after the debate thought that Gore had won. It was just a few days later that people changed their mind. So even what we think about in the first hour or so after the debate might actually change as we stop and think about it some more.
Many thanks, Bruce, for your perspective and insights on U.S. politics. Will that debate be that tight? Stay with us tonight on France 24 to follow the first presidential debate. More news to come on France 24.